is with us today, has had a fantastic career. Fantastic. You should listen carefully, and there's a lot you can put into your hearts and head and apply to your future. Gail Marquis is here fresh from the history-making inaugural celebrations. She will tell us about her experiences, impressions firsthand today, and we are very fortunate that she has given of her time after having this very heavy week in this exciting experience. We are fortunate to have her to share it with us. She is a 1976 United States Olympic champion, silver medalist for women's basketball. This background, she says, taught her the importance to be disciplined for her long-term goals, and that applies to you too. That's what she would tell you. For your future, think of inner discipline, and Gail, you'll explain. That's why I wanted 4 seats here. No, I'm not ready for you. I have to tell more about you. All right, that's the way she has patterned her life, her career. It's illustrious. Gail moved from professional sports to her career in financial services about 20 years ago. She's a featured analyst for WNBA, and she analyzes the action on the NBA Entertainment Network. She's most proud of her involvement in New York City's 2012 movement to bring the Olympics to New York City. That would be exciting. She is, don't you see how her life is involved in important things with a purpose and a direction? That's an example for you. She is in the Hall of Fame 4 times for women's sports. I won't spell them out because I'll be here forever. A graduate of the University of Phoenix with an MBA degree, and Queens College with a BA in psychology and education. She is currently with a small but elegant financial group called Element, and operates it like an exclusive boutique, which she can tell you about if she wants. I could go on with more accolades for our guest, but I'm anxious to ask you to come up and get me off the stage, Gail. Okay? Thank you very much. You can come here.
I can?
Oh, yes. You're allowed.
Discrepancy.
Yes, I'm a little peanut.
Me and Alice.
Right?
But I want to stay down there, Alice.
No, that's okay. I don't mind. I'm small but mighty. And I can't play basketball, right?
I don't want to play basketball again.
Not with me. No, I know. You'll tell the girls.
Okay.
Do you want it in your
I'm going to put it in here.
Okay.
All righty.
Because I hate that.
Okay.
Okay.
We adjust the mic.
Yours.
All righty. Very good.
The kids are yours.
Thank you so much.
They're lovely.
Thank you, Alex.
Good class. I like you all.
Already. Did you just meet today?
I can tell. No, my instinct tells me, because when I said move down, you listened. Good.
Thank you so much. My name is Gail Marquis, and for some reason, Alice Papazian and Guessar invited me to come here and meet with you today, coming off of my trip from the inauguration weekend. You know what's been going on. So it was pretty exciting, to say the least. I'm sorry if that's distracting. I got to see how to turn that off, I guess, because I don't have anything to put up there. Okay. Let me just turn it off then, because it'll be distracting otherwise. So Alice asked me to come and see you. And I walk in and I see my picture plastered all over the place. It's quite unnerving. But my name is Gail Marquis. And yes, I just came back from the inaugural weekend. I went down there for Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Inaugural weekend in Washington, D.C. And I stayed with family in Virginia and just commuted across the river, across one of the bridges, into Washington, D.C. And I have to tell you, the reason I went to see this man, President-elect and now President Barack Hussein Obama, right? I like to say all of that. The reason I went to go see him was because usually I give talks and speeches. I speak to young people, I speak to women, I speak to men, youth. I speak to empower people and to inspire people. That's what I do. And here comes this guy, Barack Hussein Obama, who I never heard of 8 years ago. 5 years ago, I never heard of him. And he comes in and he starts to speak. And many of the, if you look at the history of African Americans and our elders, elder civil rights leaders, some of them were not ready for him when he came on the scene. 21 months ago, he declared 21 months before November 4th, 2008, he declared his candidacy. People weren't ready for him. They didn't know who he was. He's too young. He's too new. I don't know him. And this was coming from other African American people. So I wanted to see who this was because this guy ends up becoming our president, winning the election, inspiring us all. You know, I get goosebumps just talking about him. So I had to go to Washington, D.C. to see him. To give you a little bit about my background, I'm from New York. I'm from Queens, grew up in St. Albans, went to Andrew Jackson High School. Anybody? Anybody? Anyone? Anyone? I grew up in Queens, and I grew up with my parents. It wasn't a fab house. It was a two-story house. My grandparents lived on the first floor. We lived on the top floor. There were 7 of us, 1 bathroom, 1 TV. So, you know, it was nothing special, nothing fantastic. But I grew up, I made it up and out. I always enjoyed sports. I did not enjoy school that much. They had a teacher strike back in, let me see, I think it was the 70s or the 80s. They had a teacher strike. So the teachers, high school teachers, well, all the teachers, New York City public school teachers went out on strike. And they were out, they didn't come back, they were out in September at the start of the school year. They did not come back until maybe a week before Thanksgiving. All right, so we lost at least 2 months of instructions. So the payback was that me, the student, had to go to school from maybe 7 in the morning till about 4 in the afternoon, like a regular job. So I didn't like school. I figured if they went out on strike, that's their problem. You know, what did I do? Well, I came in, nobody was here to teach me. So I didn't have a good flavor for school. I didn't like it. I went because my sister said, you know, my father would be quite upset if I dropped out. Well, I didn't drop out. I went through it. I got my high school diploma. I even got it. I was even ready to get it early and wanted to go to work, but my father said, no, if you start working, once you start working, you will always be working. So he would not let me have a summer job, not a summer job. He wouldn't let me go to school. He only wanted me to go to school. He did not want me to work because he was working. So that was some of my background. I always did sports in high school. It kept me out of trouble, kept me from being pregnant. You know, these things about keeping people's minds active and involved. And you know, idle mind strays, idle hands cause trouble. Our grandparents were right when they were talking about stuff like that, okay? An idle mind will just stray if you don't have something to do. It leaves that opening for people to get into trouble. You know, when they start to close down the after-school sessions, I often worry, what's going to happen to the young people? Well, there's a gang that'll take them in. There's a gang that'll take them. I didn't join a gang, I joined a team. I joined several teams. And from sports, I went to Queens College because they had the best women's basketball team at that time. And I wanted to challenge myself. I wanted to be against the best. I thought I was the best already because I played at a school in Queens. And our school, our class was good. So in essence, I thought I was the best. So for that reason, I went to Queens College with a great team. And we had great times, great championships. I was able to work it such that I went to different tryouts for our World University team, our Pan Am teams. The Olympic team that I tried out for was a tryout. I started out in northeastern United States, I guess from New Jersey, New York, all the way up to Maine. They had one tryout. About 250 girls and women came to the tryout. They made the cuts or elimination. So you run through drills, and at the end of the practice, they say, you, all of you go home, you stay, those are cuts. I lasted from 250 down to 5. From those 5, they sent us out to the Midwest, out to Warrensburg, Missouri, Central Missouri State University. So I went out there for more tryouts, about 55 of us. They made the cuts down from 55 down to 15, 3 alternates and 12 people on a women's basketball team. It was the first time they ever had women's basketball at the Olympic Games. Here I am, the kid from Queens. I made it. I remember calling home. I was in Kansas City, and I had some great drills. I did well. I made the team, but it wasn't all that glorified because I was packing my bags ready to go home at the end of the 5-day session because I thought I had messed up. I thought I was going to get cut. I didn't even want to go back to New York. I figured I'd go to Portland, Oregon, where my sister lives, and then I'll go down to Vegas and spend the rest of my flight money. And I was never going to come back to New York because I didn't want to be a failure. I thought I was a failure. As it turns out, my name was on that list. And I remember calling home that night, and it might have been 11 o'clock or midnight Central Time, and telling my mom back here that I wasn't coming home. I wasn't coming home, that I had made the team. So I think they got a little confused, my parents, or my mother did. My father may not have been home from work yet. But I just had to make them understand. I remember calling my college coach and telling her, like at 2 in the morning, I'm not coming back home. I made the team. She thought, oh, you're going to be an alternate. That's good. I said, no. There's 12 of us. I'm those 12. You know, it's from here. It's going to Montreal. So they were elated, quite happy for me. So you see where I'm going with inspiration. Okay, I'm the one that inspires. I'm on this Olympic team. I'm practicing, and I'll tell you, to this day, I was on the team in 1976. Outside of my cheering section over here, I don't think anybody was here in 76. Anybody? Anyone? 76? Nobody was here in 76. This is my cheering section. They were here in 76. They were here in 76, so it was the first time they ever had women's basketball at the Olympics. We have a long, long history of men and American basketball teams playing basketball at the Olympics. Our men have played and only won gold, I think right up until 1972, when they came in second, and they never did accept that silver medal because they said the refs had cheated. So we have a long history. They came right back in 76 and won gold and carried that forward, I think, until 1988. Then in 92, they got the dream team so that they wouldn't lose anymore. A long history of men, but it's the first time they had women's basketball at the games. And for me, not only playing, practicing, not all the tryouts culminate into this one time where you get to be on the team and play. I'm up in Montreal, Canada, where they had the games. Long story short, we lost to Russia, but we beat just about everybody else, from Bulgaria to Czechoslovakia to Canada, the host country. I came back with a silver medal. I brought it here to show you because this is all part of the inspiration. So I came back with a silver medal, or the silver Olympic medal, and I get to go out and see people and show them my medal and tell my stories, and I inspire people. So once again, this guy, Barack Hussein Obama, almost takes my cheese. He's inspiring me. He's telling me things to do. He's out there. He's being confronted by different factions of our own country and saying he's not good enough. At one time, he was not black enough. Do you remember that one early enough? I don't quite know how that one works. Not being black enough. Haven't figured that one out yet, but he wasn't that either. He wasn't strong enough. He wasn't knowledgeable enough. He was not enough experienced. He wasn't experienced enough. He was too young, even though there had been presidents of this country who were younger, who were elected younger. So he had a lot going at him. And I think one of the biggest things he had going at him was when his minister turned on him. His minister, Reverend Wright, I guess said some things that you say in a pulpit. And I'll tell you, my ministers, they kind of go off on their own when they're in that pulpit. All right, they say a lot of things when they're in that pulpit. But his minister turned on him too and said some things. But, you know, our candidate held his own. And he went through our whole entire country, and he went around to meet people and let people see who he is. He had to start campaigning in 2007, February 2007, February 12th. He announced his candidacy going out to next year, 2008, all the way out to November. He had to announce it 21 months out there to give us that much time to know who he is, to know that he's not a terrorist, to know that he's not a Muslim, not that there's anything wrong with being a Muslim, to know that he's just like any other middle class, to know that he's married with a beautiful wife, 2 children, that he's still a family man, still fears God and country. It took him that whole 21 months to tell us all about him. So that's what inspired me, that he took the time to come out and let me know who he is. So I had to go see him. I had to vote for him, first of all. I had to campaign for him before that. I had to show my support as any way I can. I had to talk it up when somebody said he's too young. Oh, he's not too young. You know, we've had younger. Oh, he doesn't have experience. I said, we got somebody else in the office right now who has no experience. What do you need experience for? I had to tell him that. You surround yourself with experience. I had to go see this man. He won the election, and I bet you, you know, when people often talk, maybe your parents say where they were when John Kennedy was assassinated. You ask people, if they're alive, they know where they were, what they were doing. Now you have something. Where were you when Barack Obama was named the president? You know who you were? You know who you were with? You know what you were doing, right? So you have that. You have the same thing I have when I think about John Kennedy. So you got something, you're inspired, you're going forward. This was the inspiration that was building up in me. He gets elected. I'm watching the returns coming in. Remember that Tuesday night, we're watching the returns coming in, and the numbers come in, I think, on the East Coast, and McCain is up a little bit. And then they come in from further south, and McCain is up even more. And then it inches over another hour, and some more returns coming in, until we get over to the left coast, over to the west coast, the left coast, and the clock ticks at 11 o'clock, and he jumps over the required 180 electoral votes, and we know he has it done. You know, and so many people look at the history of our country and what we've gone through in our civil rights, in our civil wars, in our revolutionary wars, how we have fought in this country so many years, and we're able to come together. That's what I feel. That's what I feel, that our country was able to come together for one thing, one cause, to move us forward. So he's inspiring me. The way he handled himself in front of his minister, the way he handled himself in the campaign. There wasn't a whole lot of name-calling back and forth, always going back to the issues, always going back to what was wrong, what needed to be fixed, and how we were going to fix it, not getting sidetracked by maybe something that Mr. Jackson said, or something that Reverend Wright said, or something else that Mr. McCain or Mr. McCain's cousin said, or something that Cindy was wearing. Not getting distracted by anything. This inspires me. Okay, because I try to live a good life, try to live it as best my parents raised me. You get sidetracked, okay? If you ride the train, if you ride the subway, you want to do harm to people sometimes, okay? It's in your head, we can't help it. But our parents kind of put us on the right track again. So I go down there to Washington. I left on Saturday. And I told you all of that to let you know that I'm just a regular person. I was on the internet 2 weeks before I decided. I didn't have anybody that wanted to go with me. I went down there by myself. I drove down. I could have easily have, I guess, taken a train in. My cousin lives in Arlington, Virginia. She said I could stay with her. I drove down from Virginia. I think it was across one bridge that took you into Washington, D.C. I was on the internet 2 weeks before to find out the whole system, the roadways. I was on it to find out the metro. I bought myself a little metro card, just like our metro card. Okay, but mine has a picture of Obama on it, and it was worth $20. You don't have that. You just have a yellow card. All right? I had my metro card already. I had my maps of the city and surrounding areas. I had a whole layout of the National Mall and all the streets. The Capitol is on one end, Washington Monument, Lincoln Monument, White House. I knew my whole floor plan, everything where I was going to go. I got to have a party, got to go to a ball, right? I'm on the internet looking for inaugural balls. You can find them on the internet. There were a lot of them, all right? The inauguration was Tuesday the 20th. I think balls started maybe the 13th, the prior Tuesday. They were in Maryland or Virginia, all around. They had inaugural balls. The key is you got to find one that's relevant, that you can afford. Okay, money was an object that you could afford, and also that was, you know, maybe there might be a chance. Might be a chance that Barack and Michelle would come through, right? I found a ball on, paid for it right there at the door. Let me see, this was a T-shirt and tails ball. So I arrive on Saturday, get to my cousin's house about 3 o'clock, throw some things, and then, cuz I gotta hit it, get dressed, and I'm out the door. To my first ball was a T-shirt and tails ball. You could wear a T-shirt, you could look as bad as you want, or as good as you want. I chose to look as good as I want, right? But there were gentlemen there who had T-shirts on, which might have been Obama Hope, wore their Hope T-shirt and a tuxedo. There were a couple of ladies, one or two, who had on shirt T-shirts, okay, with a belted look. Not my look, but other people can pull it off. That was a T-shirts ball, and I go there to network. Go to the network. I'm the only one. I didn't come in with an entourage. I didn't bring any partners with me, or it wasn't a party of 4 or 10. It was just me, making my way through the crowd, talking to people. Because remember, I'm in an area with like-minded people. I'm with area that people who like our president, because they're going to the ball. People who are happy, they're in a good mood. You could talk Obama with not being afraid, well, maybe this is a McCain fan. There were only Obama fans in all of these mixes. The T-shirt and tails ball was on Saturday night. On Sunday night was the Lincoln, named after Abraham Lincoln, the Lincoln 2.0 ball at the Smithsonian Institute of Art and Portrait Gallery. I went to that one. That one was taking a look back at Abraham Lincoln when he had his ball. 1869, 1868, 1860, around there, he had his inaugural ball. So you did have women in colloquial dress. Abe Lincoln was there with the stovepipe hat. So you just go through the motions. I had on a pretty dress again, didn't know anyone, but you go out there and you start to meet people. You talk to people. I know you're shy to talk to people that you don't know. Once again, remember, it's like-minded people. So I'm out there just saying hello. I see a couple over there. They have a camera. Do you want me to take your picture? They say, of course. They get together. I take the picture. Hi, what brought you here? You know, and they talk to me. I said, I came from New York. I just came down there. I had to see this. Anywhere I went, I was able to start a conversation. People were in good moods. At the stoplight, at the crosswalks, people were in a good mood. The next party I went to was a private party on Sunday, but it was good. I needed to go into town on Sunday to drop my car off. On Tuesday, all the streets were going to be closed in the entire Washington, D.C. All right, I had to have my car in there because my last party was probably 1 in the morning. The next day, had to have a way back. So I finagled that out, left my cousin's house on Tuesday, going into Washington, D.C. for the big inauguration. My cousin woke me up about 6:30, maybe 6. She said, Gail, people are already on the National Mall. Some slept there overnight. 4 a.m., they opened up the gates. People are on the National Mall. So I thought, do I want to go? Do I need to go? Should I go? It's going to be crowded. Came this way. I came all this way. If I go back, the rest of my life is going to be, I was in D.C., but I didn't go. Well, it was too crowded. What the heck? It's crowded here in New York. Let me just go ahead and be in it, which I did. Got up, got dressed. I had my Louis Vuitton bag. I had foot warmers. All right? You tear off the tape, you stick them in your shoes, 135 degrees on your toes. Same thing on the hands. Okay? I had hand warmers. I was very comfortable. I had that big black coat I have on. Very comfortable. I was not ready for the pickup. I took the bus, and I took another bus from the train station. The metros were overcrowded. Can you imagine in the subways here being overcrowded that you can't even get down the stairs off the street? You don't even get to the token booth? That's how overcrowded. They weren't ready for 2 million people. They told us use public transportation, which we did. It was just so many people. I caught a bus instead of the metro. I made my way into town. They dropped me off on 14th Street and C Street. Means nothing to you? About 2 blocks from the National Mall. But when they dropped us, when that bus pulled up, there were other buses pulling up. There were streams of people, of kids, children. There were class trips. You might see a couple of little kids. Well, maybe not a couple, like 20 of them. But they all had on like yellow hats, yellow knit hats. So this teacher knew her students. Or you see another group had on blue hats. Another one had on red hats. I said, that's great. They won't lose anybody. We get closer to the mall. I'm passing police cars that are parked. I'm passing old ladies and old men with canes and walkers who maybe could take 3, 4, 5, 6 steps, and they got to stop. All right? And they start up again. They get going again. All right? 3, 4, 5, 6, and then they got to stop again. And they always had a little grandson or granddaughter with them. And if you had a grandmother, you knew not to walk faster than her. You had to stay with your grandmother. And you had those little boys who were staying with their grandmother. And we were all proceeding to the National Mall. When you got to the National Mall, You couldn't see grass. I mean, there were trees, grass on the ground right in front of me, but as you looked out, you just saw people from this side to the other side until I looked up and saw buildings, other Capitol buildings. It was just a wall, a sea of people. People all around. So I was able to walk and walk. They had big, huge TV screens. And everybody was there for the same reason. Everybody is like-minded. Everyone is loving it. Can you believe we're here? Kids are, crying and chattering, and moms are trying to hold the kids. Everyone stay together, hand-holding so people don't get lost. We all kind of made it to the mall, a sea of people. You could not see the grass in front of you. As I got closer and closer, I had a nice spot. Had some room around me. Put my bag here. Had some room around me. I could see the little Trinitron screen up over there. They start playing the music. People are happy. The crowd started to inch in, where I had somebody right here on my shoulder. I had somebody else here. I always felt something in my back right here. All right, this is when I get nervous. This part I don't like. I don't like when everybody's touching me, You ride the subways, you don't want people touching you, right? It was the same feeling as if you're in the subway and people are touching you, except, we're here for Barack. We want to be a part of history. We're all tight, and we're hanging. Everyone is in a pretty good mood. I bump somebody, excuse me, it's all right. I want to get out. You try to give them a little way. There was not much way, so people were sliding through. I did tell one man, if we were in New York on the subway, we'd be thrown down right now, because he was very close. And he apologized 3 or 4 times, but he didn't move. He was right there. But this was the atmosphere. You were wall to wall, but you were there to see it. You were there to be a part of it. And I remember the sound system was very good, very clear. And they said, Joe Biden, come up here and take the oath. And he came up, and I could see a glimpse of his wife, Jill Biden, coming up so she could hold the good book for him. And then he raised his hand and he said his words. And then Aretha Franklin came up there to sing, and we're getting kind of agitated because I think they had Itzhak Perlman came up, other people came to play the music. We all know what we were here for. And then they said, Chief Justice Roberts, will you come forward? And he came forward, we knew that was it. Everyone is getting agitated. And there were pictures of Bush up there on the screen because they always pan the audience. You did hear boos, you heard murmurs when they saw Bush and Cheney just on the screen. They didn't even announce the name. But when they said Chief Justice Roberts come up, we knew this was it. So folks were kind of yanking their kids. People had all size kids. They might have said, don't bring children. All sizes of children were there. All sizes were there. And they were pretty good. They were pretty good in that they were staying near their moms. And I could hear the words. I heard that flub of the words too. Didn't quite know what that was. But I just figured it might have been a blip in the microphone. Later on, we knew what it was. Chief Justice Roberts, I think he thought he memorized the words, but he didn't quite memorize them. He didn't read them. It was only 35 words he had to say. He kind of flubbed them. That's all right. It didn't matter. Because when he got to the part that said, so help me God, and Barack said, so help me God, that was it. Everything broke loose, the screams, the yells, the whoops, the cheers, the man hugging me over here, me hugging somebody else over here. It was that euphoria. And it had just blown up when he said, so help me God. And then I think music might have played, intermission in there. I couldn't see the screen anymore. People were jumping and everything. People were very orderly. For 2 million people, very orderly. No arrests that day, no incidents. 2 million people at one gathering. No arrests, no incidents, nobody got pulled over, no pickpockets. Man was right out here on my pocket. No pickpockets? Okay, it was that kind of day. Barack got into his inaugural address. I don't really remember it. I was there, I heard it. I was still on my euphoria about where I was and what I did and how this man inspires me. Let me go see who he is. Let me see who his wife is, the new First Lady. And it's something I'm going to take with me, just like where were you on November 4th, 2008? All right, where were you maybe on January 20th? Where did you watch it? Where did you hear it? What were you doing? What did it leave you with? He had that day of public service on the 19th, and he was out at a homeless shelter for young adults You saw him maybe painting the walls. All right, in there, his wife was at another shelter, another area, just in a different location, stuffing the bags that are going to go overseas to our men and women in service, the goodie bags, the care packages. She and her daughters are stuffing, and I started to say, where's my community service? Before I come here and tell you to do something, where is mine? When I grew up, I was in the Girl Scouts. We were always doing something. My mother had us at the old folks' home, or she had us at the hospital. We were doing something. My father was dropping us off somewhere to volunteer. So all raised right. So I'm on a couple of boards, different boards, that I give my time and my expertise from my money and finance. But where am I contributing? Which is why I had to go see this guy, because he inspired me. And if he's inspiring me, and I inspire you, I had to keep it going. I had to go see him. Now, that was my trip. I'll tell you, after So Help You God and the inauguration and his speech, we had to exit. It took about an hour and a half, I think, for 2 million people to exit off the mall and get wherever they were going. The parade was on Pennsylvania Avenue. That was about an hour late. It was a slow process, like herding cattle, herding people down 18th Street, up and out and away. I made my way over to a hotel just to relax. I had another inaugural ball that night. So, I was there to have a good time. It was all part of it, the celebration. So I'm at my last inaugural ball. I stayed there till 1:30. I did not leave. He didn't make my ball. So my mission continues to see Barack Hussein Obama, president, no president-elect. My mission continues. I'm going to see this guy. I'm going to see him face to face. Hopefully it's in a nice, intimate setting like this, and not again with 2 million of my closest constituents. But still, it left me with just a great, great feeling. And I think just in telling your Professor Papazian that I was going down there, she wanted me to come and see you. I said, I don't have anything to say. Be surprised what you have to say, because I hope I've left you with not just my day of going out to the inauguration, but my wanting to inspire and my wanting to do more and to contribute, because that's what I'm here for. So once again, my name is Gail Marquis. I hope I look like the picture. I brought my Olympic medal here for you to see. Okay, it's one of my possessions, so I'm so glad I remembered to bring it. Sometimes I just get that I forget to bring it, but I have it here. I'll have it so you can see it. Please hold the medal, okay? Most people have never held an Olympic medal. A lot of people, there are more Super Bowl rings in this country than there are Olympic medals. We don't get too many of them to come back. So it's a real silver medal. And when you look at it, okay, then look on the base down here. It'll say basketball. If you were in the 4x100 or judo or whatever your event was, it would say here. Mine says basketball. Okay, so make sure you see the medal before you go, because it will not be here next week.
They're going to have tea, and they're going to talk to you.
Okay.
Next door, have tea.
Anybody had any questions?
Yes, report. Gail, we have students that are from different cities and different states. How many of you were born in New York?
Oh, wow, quite a few.
How many, tell me where you're from, because that would be interesting to get.
Outside of New York?
We have English students here.
Great Britain, London,
Yes. From France.
Europe,
Going across the country. China. I know we have Koreans, right? Raise your hand, Koreans.
Far East. Oh, wow,
Yes.
quite a bit.
What other Asian countries are there? India? Do we have anyone from India? Well, when you come to have some tea and you can talk to Gail, right?
Yes.
Okay. And touch the silver medal. You'll tell your children that you touched an Olympic star, especially women, because that was the first time, right?
That was the first time they had ever had women's basketball at the games.
So it's something to be proud of, because we need our pride. That's why I'm so happy Gail agreed to come, because she's bringing you directly from her soul what she experienced, and now it's yours, okay? To be proud, to have good principles, to have good judgment. That's my message, right?
You hit it right on the head. That hit it right on the head. Thanks so much. Have a great day. Thanks, Alice.
In the morning, day one, and these people have a deadline to meet.
So welcome to the kickoff of the shopping cart project.
This is Palo Alto, California, in the heart of Silicon Valley. And these are designers at IDEO, probably the most influential product development firm in the world. Designers are the reason TVs have square screens, chairs 4 legs, and toothbrushes nowadays those squishy handles. In fact, it was IDEO that designed those squishy handles. IDEO has designed everything from high-tech medical equipment to the 25-foot mechanical whale in the movie Free Willy, and the first computer mouse for Apple. Smith ski goggles, Nike sunglasses, NEC computer screens. Hundreds of products we take for granted.
This is called the Neat Squeeze toothpaste tube, which you invented.
The man who runs IDEO is Dave Kelly, a Stanford engineering professor with a Groucho Marx mustache, a data genius, and an approach to innovation that usually works.
Well, thank you, Fred.
But not always.
I can show you some products that failed. Came up with this idea called monster shoes, where you take these little monsters and lace them into your shoes, like this. And we built a bunch of them, and I didn't want those either. So.
Mostly what IDEO designs, though, does work, and it works very well. Dave and his design teams create about 90 new products every year.
The point is that we're not actually experts at any given area. You know, we're kind of experts on the process of how you design stuff. So we don't care if you give us a toothbrush, a toothpaste tube, a tractor, a space shuttle, you know, a chair. It's all the same to us. We want to figure out how to innovate by using our process applying it.
And so for the next 5 days, the team will apply that process to bringing the supermarket shopping cart into the 21st century.
I think first we should maybe all acknowledge that it's kind of insane to do an entire project in a week.
Project leader is Peter Skillman, a 35-year-old Stanford engineer. Project leader because he's good with groups, not because of seniority. He's only been at IDEO for 6 years. The rest of the team is eclectic, but that's typical here. Whitney Mortimer, Harvard MBA. Peter Coughlin, linguist. Tom Kelly, Dave's brother, marketing expert. Jane Fulton-Suri, psychologist. Alex Kazaks, 26, a biology major, who's turned down medical school 3 times because he's having too much fun at IDEO.
Kids climbing up and doing this.
Kids do that.
Safety emerges early as an important issue.
22,000 child injuries a year, and so they're hospitalized injuries. I mean, there are many others.
Not recorded in the store, you actually have to go to the
that's
emergency room.
hospitalized.
Wow.
Right.
And theft. It turns out a lot of carts are stolen.
You know, what is the average life of a cart? Does it last 2 years, 5 years, 10 years? And how big is this theft thing?
10 a.m. As the team works, it becomes clear there are no titles here, no permanent assignments.
The other side gives us a lot of help, says, be safe.
Everyone appears to be equal, and they love to mock corporate America.
I'll give you status. I'll give you a big red ball on a post, and that says you're a big guy. If you got a ball, you're a senior vice president. You know, what do I get on the desk? A red ball? It's all the same. In a very innovative culture, you can't have a kind of hierarchy of here's the boss and the next person down, the next person down, the next person down, because it's impossible that the boss is the one who's had the insightful experience with shopping carts. It's just not possible.
According to Kelly, even employees who merely listen to the boss don't add that much either.
So you gotta hire people who don't listen to you, and that I don't think corporate America wants to hear that right yet.
I think we ought to start making those lists about the kinds of questions that we can ask.
The team splits into groups to find out firsthand what the people who use, make, and repair shopping carts really think.
Okay, go.
The problem with the plastic cart is the wind catches it. Yeah. And these things have been clocked at 35 across the parking lot.
Man, that's actually a pretty good point. The trick is to find these real experts, and so that you can learn much more quickly than you could by just kind of doing it the normal way and trying to learn about it yourself.
From everything I read, these things aren't that safe either, you know? So probably the seat itself is going to have to be redesigned.